Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others struggle their entire lives, regardless of how hard they work? What if everything you've been taught about creating financial abundance was fundamentally flawed? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. We've all heard the conventional wisdom: work harder, save more, invest wisely, climb the corporate ladder. Yet for millions of people following this traditional advice, financial freedom remains frustratingly out of reach. Has this ever happened to you? You follow all the rules, do everything right, yet find yourself stuck in the same financial position year after year. The truth is that there exists a forbidden secret about wealth creation so powerful, so transformative, that it has been systematically suppressed and ridiculed throughout history. This isn't about get-rich-quick schemes or mysterious investment strategies. It's about something far more fundamental: the extraordinary power of your mind to literally create wealth through focused intention and unwavering will. This secret knowledge reveals that the true source of abundance isn't external circumstances, education, or connections. It's the way you think. The wealthy elite have guarded this wisdom closely because it transforms anyone who understands it from a participant in the economic game to its architect. When you grasp that your external financial reality is merely a reflection of your internal thought patterns, everything changes. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might completely reshape your understanding of how wealth is created. Throughout history, certain individuals have stumbled upon this knowledge and used it to escape crushing poverty, building vast fortunes seemingly out of nothing. These remarkable few didn't have special advantages or lucky breaks. They simply made a profound mental shift that altered their financial trajectory forever. Think about it. What if the difference between financial struggle and abundance isn't about working harder, but thinking differently? What if your mind is actually a wealth-creating mechanism that's been programmed with the wrong instructions? The most fascinating aspect of this hidden knowledge is that it works regardless of your background, education, or current financial situation. I've seen people transform their circumstances dramatically once they understood this principle, shifting from debt and desperation to prosperity and purpose through a single fundamental mental decision. What you're about to learn challenges everything conventional financial wisdom teaches. It reveals why millions remain trapped in cycles of unrewarded effort, while others seem to manifest opportunities effortlessly. The distinction isn't luck or privilege. It's understanding the invisible connection between your thoughts and your financial reality. Are you ready to discover what the financial establishment doesn't want you to know? Because once you understand how to properly harness your mind's wealth-creating abilities, the walls of limitation begin to crumble. If you're ready to continue this journey of mental wealth creation, hit the subscribe button now. Each week, I share powerful insights that the financial elite have kept hidden for centuries. The walls of limitation begin to crumble, and you start to see opportunities where others see obstacles. This journey of transformation isn't meant for everyone. It's for those rare individuals who sense there's something more, who feel that internal stirring that says, the conventional path isn't working for me. What separates those who discover this hidden truth from those who remain in financial struggle isn't luck or circumstance. It's their willingness to embrace a completely new paradigm about wealth creation. At the core of this revelation lies a fundamental principle that the most successful wealth creators throughout history have understood. The starting point of all achievement, especially financial achievement, is desire. But not just any desire. I'm talking about a burning, pulsating desire that consumes your thoughts and drives your actions. This isn't about hoping for more money or wishing things were different. Hope is passive. Wishful thinking is powerless. True desire is an active force that propels you forward with unstoppable momentum. This burning desire becomes the ignition system for your mind's wealth-creating mechanism. When you cultivate desire with this level of intensity, your brain begins operating differently. Neural pathways reorganize, reticular activating systems recalibrate, and you literally begin perceiving financial opportunities that were always there but remained invisible to your previous mindset. What's fascinating about this inner transformation is that your current resources become irrelevant. Your present bank account balance, your education level, your connections, none of these determine your financial destiny. What matters is the intensity of your desire and your absolute refusal to accept rejection or setbacks as final answers. This burning desire doesn't acknowledge impossibility. It simply finds another path when obstacles appear. The decision to cultivate this level of desire represents a profound shift in consciousness. Most people live their entire lives never experiencing the power of true desire. They settle for mild preferences, casual wants, or vague aspirations. But these tepid emotional states lack the energy required to overcome financial inertia. They're like trying to launch a rocket with an 8A battery. There simply isn't enough power. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and reveal how this burning desire creates a magnetic field around you. This isn't mystical thinking. It's about how intense desire changes your perception, actions, and the signals you send to others. When you want something with this level of certainty, your entire being aligns with that outcome. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You make decisions with a clarity that others find compelling and trustworthy. This alignment becomes visible in your daily choices. You naturally prioritize activities that move you toward your financial goals. You instinctively avoid distractions that others fall prey to. Your mind becomes a laser-focused instrument of manifestation, not because of some supernatural force, but because you've programmed it with crystal-clear instructions backed by emotional intensity. The most revolutionary aspect of this mindset revolution is that it works regardless of your starting point. I've witnessed individuals apply these principles from situations of extreme hardship and watched as their financial reality began shifting almost immediately. Not through magical thinking, but through the practical application of their mind's natural abundance-creating capabilities. This burning desire becomes the foundation upon which all other wealth principles build. Without it, knowledge remains theoretical, opportunities go unnoticed, and action lacks persistence. With it, you develop an unstoppable momentum that eventually bends circumstances to your advantage. If you're resonating with these ideas, if something inside you is awakening to the possibilities, write in the comments, "My desire is my power." Let me know you're ready to take this first crucial step toward financial transformation. This first crucial step of activating your burning desire unlocks a revelation that many powerful institutions have worked to suppress throughout history. You might wonder why such valuable knowledge would be deliberately hidden from the public. The answer is both simple and profound. Discovering that you can use your mind to generate wealth transforms you at the deepest level. You become unmanipulable, independent, no longer willing to merely survive when you now understand how to thrive. This revelation represents a fundamental shift in your relationship with money and power. Think about it. Throughout history, economic systems have been designed around the principle that resources are scarce and must be controlled. But what happens when individuals discover that the most powerful resource, their own consciousness, can be directed to create abundance? The entire paradigm collapses. You can't control someone who knows their mind is the true source of wealth. This hidden truth has been guarded not because it's false, but because it's dangerously effective. The journey toward this revelation requires something most aren't willing to give: absolute commitment. Half measures produce half results. The condition for this transformation is wanting success with every fiber of your being, with such intensity that compromise becomes impossible. Let me share a powerful illustration of this principle in action, the story of Edwin Barnes, whose journey reveals the mechanics of this mental alchemy. Barnes was a man who, by conventional standards, had nothing going for him. No money, no connections, no impressive qualifications or resume. What he did have was something far more valuable: an unwavering desire to work with Thomas Edison, one of history's greatest inventors. Most people would have dismissed this as an impossible dream. How could someone with no resources or connections possibly become the business partner of America's most famous inventor? But Barnes understood something fundamental about consciousness that most never grasp. When the mind focuses with intensity and unshakable faith, it begins to attract precisely what it needs to fulfill its vision. Barnes didn't know how he would become Edison's partner. He only knew with absolute certainty that he would. This distinction is crucial to understanding the mindset revolution we're exploring. Most people need to see the entire path before taking the first step. They need guarantees and certainties, but this requirement itself becomes the limitation that prevents their breakthrough. Barnes approached his desire differently. He set his destination with perfect clarity, but remained flexible about the path. When he finally managed to get into Edison's presence, do you know what happened? He wasn't offered a partnership, not even close. He was offered a menial position selling Edison's dictating machines. Many would have seen this as rejection or failure. Barnes saw it as opportunity, the first step on his inevitable path to partnership. Don't miss the next chapter in your wealth transformation journey. Subscribe now to get these mind-shifting revelations delivered directly to you as soon as they're released. The revelation hidden in this story goes beyond simple persistence. It illustrates how a mind locked onto its target with unwavering focus begins to reorganize reality around that intention. Barnes didn't just work hard. Countless people work hard without achieving their dreams. He maintained an internal conviction so powerful that it influenced his perceptions, his decisions, and ultimately the opportunities that appeared before him. Years later, after proving his value repeatedly, Barnes did indeed become Edison's partner, developing and distributing the Edison dictating machine throughout the nation and amassing a fortune. In the process, his journey from penniless dreamer to wealthy entrepreneur wasn't the result of lucky breaks or privileged connections. It was the natural manifestation of a mind programmed with absolute clarity and conviction. This pattern of mental causation appears throughout history when you know what to look for. Behind nearly every overnight success or lucky break stands a mind that had been meticulously cultivating a specific outcome, often for years before any external evidence appeared. The internal alignment always precedes the external manifestation. What would change in your life if you applied this level of mental focus and uncompromising desire to your financial goals? How would your decisions, actions, and opportunities transform if you carried the same certainty Barnes did? I invite you to reflect on this deeply. If something inside you resonates with this hidden truth, write in the comments, "I attract what my mind focuses on." This acknowledgement is more powerful than you might realize. It's your first declaration of financial independence. This declaration of financial independence marks the beginning of a profound awakening. Let's explore another crucial dimension of Barnes's story that reveals the hidden architecture of wealth creation. When Barnes finally secured an audience with Edison, he wasn't offered the partnership he sought. Instead, he was offered a position as a salesman. Many would have seen this as rejection and abandoned their vision, but Barnes recognized something that most miss. The architecture of success isn't linear. It's a winding path where each step, however small or seemingly insignificant, is an essential part of the journey. This perspective shift represents a quantum leap in consciousness. Those who understand the principles of wealth manifestation don't demand that opportunities arrive in the exact packaging they imagined. They recognize that the universe often delivers stepping stones rather than the entire bridge at once. Barnes didn't reject the sales position because it wasn't his ultimate goal. He embraced it as the perfect next step on his inevitable path to partnership with Edison. Behind this decision lies a profound truth about the alchemy of transformation, the mind that remains flexible about the path while staying unwavering about the destination accesses opportunities invisible to others. Barnes didn't compromise his vision. He simply understood that real-world manifestation often unfolds through a series of progressive revelations rather than a single dramatic event. What makes this mindset so revolutionary is how it reframes obstacles and setbacks. Instead of viewing challenges as evidence that your vision is flawed or unattainable, you begin seeing them as necessary refinements, pressure tests that strengthen your resolve and clarify your direction. This shift in perception changes everything about how you engage with difficulties on your financial journey. The burning desire we've been discussing isn't just an initial spark that ignites your path. It's a continuously cultivated flame that actually grows stronger with each obstacle encountered. Think of it as a positive obsession that, rather than being diminished by resistance, is actually fueled by it. Each challenge becomes evidence that you're on the right path, pushing against meaningful resistance rather than chasing fantasies. Most people's desires weaken when faced with opposition. They interpret difficulty as a sign they should abandon their vision or settle for less. But those who master this hidden knowledge understand that obstacles are actually opportunities for strengthening your mental focus. This counterintuitive relationship between resistance and desire explains why so few achieve extraordinary financial success. They simply haven't developed the mental musculature to maintain their vision through inevitable challenges. Without this burning desire that grows stronger through adversity, the mind remains essentially dormant. It operates on autopilot, following established patterns and accepting conventional limitations. This dormant mind cannot create wealth because creation requires active, focused intention sustained over time. The difference between a mind that generates wealth and one that doesn't isn't intelligence or education. It's the presence of this unwavering, obstacle-resistant desire that refuses to be diminished by temporary setbacks. What's particularly fascinating about this journey of mental mastery is how it literally rewires your neural pathways. Neuroscience has confirmed what these ancient wealth principles suggested. The brain physically changes based on where you direct your consistent focus. By nurturing your burning desire daily, you're actually creating new neural connections that make wealth recognition and creation your default state rather than an occasional accident. This explains why those who master these principles seem to have an almost supernatural ability to spot opportunities others miss. It's not extrasensory perception, it's simply that they've trained their reticular activating system, the brain's filtering mechanism, to prioritize information relevant to their financial vision. Their brain has become a wealth-detecting instrument, continuously scanning the environment for resources, connections, and opportunities aligned with their focus. Consider how different your financial reality might look if you cultivated this level of desire, not just as an initial motivation, but as a continuously strengthened force that grows more powerful with each challenge. How might your perception of obstacles transform if you viewed them as essential components of your success rather than barriers to it? If these insights are illuminating hidden dimensions of wealth creation for you, write in the comments, "Obstacles strengthen my desire." This acknowledgement signals your readiness to transform challenges from barriers into building blocks on your wealth journey. This transformation of challenges into building blocks reveals the true alchemy at work in wealth creation. Now let's explore perhaps the most critical question on this journey. What do you desire so much that you would risk everything to achieve it? This isn't a casual inquiry. It's an invitation to discover your personal goldmine of potential. When you identify that core desire that resonates with your deepest values and aspirations, you've found the leverage point that can move your entire financial world. This desire isn't merely a preference or a fleeting want. It's something that calls to you so powerfully that the thought of not pursuing it creates more discomfort than any risk involved in chasing it. For some, it's creating a business that solves a problem they're passionate about. For others, it's achieving a level of financial independence that allows them to support causes they believe in. The specific form is unique to you, but the intensity required is universal. When you identify this core desire and then cultivate it, nurturing it daily through affirmation, visualization, and aligned action, something remarkable begins to happen. You activate what some might call invisible forces that begin to reorganize your reality. This isn't mystical thinking. It's the natural consequence of a mind so clearly directed that it filters all information, opportunities, and decisions through the lens of that dominant desire. What many fail to understand is that money doesn't begin in the wallet, the bank, or even in a business plan. It begins in a thought that is never released, a vision that is held with such consistency and emotional intensity that it begins reshaping your choices, perceptions, and actions. This sustained mental focus creates a blueprint that your subconscious mind works tirelessly to fulfill, often in ways your conscious mind couldn't have planned. Consider the difference between someone who occasionally thinks it would be nice to be wealthy and someone who wakes up every morning with an unshakable certainty that financial abundance is their natural state. The first person might take random actions toward wealth or wait for opportunities. The second person becomes a living magnet for resources and possibilities, recognizing openings that others miss entirely. This brings us to another crucial element in this wealth psychology: faith. Not religious faith, but a particular state of mind that operates as the invisible engine powering the entire process of manifestation. Faith in this context means absolute, unwavering certainty, a bone-deep knowing that what you desire is already in motion toward you. Here's the revelation that changes everything. This state of faith can be deliberately cultivated. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's a mental muscle that strengthens through consistent self-suggestion and focused intention. By repeatedly affirming your certainty, visualizing the outcome with emotional intensity, and acting in alignment with that future reality, you gradually shift from hoping to knowing. Ask yourself this illuminating question: what would you do differently if you knew with absolute certainty that financial abundance was already on its way to you? How would your posture change? Your decisions? Your willingness to take calculated risks? Most people operate from a place of doubt and scarcity, making cautious, fear-based decisions that inevitably produce limited results. But when you cultivate this state of faith, this unshakable certainty, you naturally begin operating at a higher level. You make bolder moves, attract stronger allies, and persist through challenges that would stop others in their tracks. This isn't blind optimism, it's a strategic mindset that creates self-fulfilling prophecies by changing how you perceive and interact with opportunities. What makes this principle so powerful is that faith isn't a luxury or a personality trait. It's the essential fuel that powers the entire engine of manifestation. Without it, even the strongest desire eventually succumbs to doubt and external pressures. With it, even modest beginnings can expand into extraordinary achievements through the compounding effect of consistent, confident action. The most fascinating aspect of this process is how faith alters your neurochemistry. When you truly believe in the inevitability of your success, your brain releases different chemicals than when you're anxious or uncertain. These biochemical shifts affect everything from your decision-making abilities to how others perceive and respond to you. If you're beginning to glimpse how profoundly this shift in consciousness could reshape your financial reality, write in the comments, "Faith is my wealth engine." This recognition is the gateway to mastering the invisible forces that govern manifestation. This recognition of faith as your wealth engine opens the doorway to understanding one of the most transformative principles in financial abundance. When we examine the architecture of manifestation more deeply, we discover something remarkable about the relationship between thoughts and faith. Without faith, even the most brilliant ideas and ambitious dreams simply wither and die. They become intellectual exercises without the energy required to materialize in your reality. But when faith enters the equation, everything transforms. This transformation occurs because your mind responds not just to the content of your thoughts, but to the emotional charge behind them. You could repeat affirmations about wealth for years, but if they're not infused with genuine belief and emotional conviction, they remain lifeless instructions that your subconscious ignores. Faith is quite literally the most powerful emotion you can inject into a thought. It's the catalyst that turns mental concepts into experienced reality. Think of it like the difference between a blueprint and an actual building. Your thoughts are the blueprint, essential but still just a theoretical framework. Faith is the construction process that transforms those plans into a tangible structure you can walk through and experience. This relationship between thought and faith explains why two people can pursue identical strategies with radically different results. One operates from a blueprint alone, the other builds with unwavering faith. The most revolutionary aspect of this mindset revelation is that faith isn't passive waiting or blind hope. It's an active, intentional declaration of certainty. This is already mine, though I don't yet see it. This declaration isn't delusional thinking. It's a sophisticated understanding of how reality manifests through consciousness. By declaring with certainty what you desire as if it already exists, you align your entire being, thoughts, emotions, actions, and energy with that outcome. This alignment creates what quantum physicists might call a coherent field, a state where all aspects of your consciousness are working in harmony rather than opposition. Most people live in perpetual self-contradiction, wanting wealth while feeling undeserving, desiring abundance while expecting scarcity, setting goals while doubting their attainability. This internal conflict creates destructive interference patterns that neutralize their manifestation power. When you act as if wealth already exists in your mental reality, feeling the emotions of having it, making decisions from that abundant mindset, carrying yourself with the confidence it brings, you break free from the cycle of scarcity that traps most people. This is why this knowledge has been guarded and sometimes ridiculed throughout history. When individuals discover they can reprogram their relationship with wealth through mental and emotional alignment, they become immune to the financial fear that often keeps people dependent and controllable. Behind this principle lies a profound insight into human psychology. The brain doesn't effectively distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and physical ones. When you consistently imagine wealth with emotional intensity and unwavering faith, your neural pathways begin firing as if that wealth were already present. This neurological rehearsal creates new patterns that eventually manifest in your external circumstances. Consider the journey of people who've applied this principle. They didn't wait until they were wealthy to feel wealthy. They generated the emotional state of wealth first, maintained it with disciplined faith despite contrary evidence, and watched as their external reality gradually aligned with that internal state. This sequence, faith first, physical manifestation second, reverses the conventional approach where people wait to feel abundant until after they have abundance. The beauty of this revelation is that it places the power firmly in your hands. You don't need external validation or perfect circumstances to begin generating the mental and emotional state of wealth. You can start exactly where you are, with what you have, by cultivating unshakable faith in your financial vision. This internal shift becomes the catalyst for external transformation, not through magical thinking, but through a profound realignment of your perceptions, decisions, and actions. As you integrate this principle into your consciousness, notice how differently you begin perceiving opportunities and challenges. When faith becomes your baseline state rather than an occasional visitor, your entire relationship with wealth undergoes a metamorphosis. If you're beginning to experience this internal shift in how you view wealth creation, write in the comments, "I declare my abundance now." This declaration isn't just a comment, it's your first step in actively breaking the cycle of scarcity thinking. This first step in breaking the cycle of scarcity thinking brings us to a profound revelation about faith. It isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a mental muscle that can be deliberately strengthened through consistent training. Just as you wouldn't expect to transform your physical body without regular exercise, you can't transform your financial reality without training your faith through intentional repetition and self-suggestion. The architecture of this training process is remarkably precise. It begins with creating clear mental images of your desired financial state, not vague notions, but detailed scenes that engage all your senses. See yourself making confident financial decisions, feel the emotional freedom of abundance, hear the conversations you'll have, taste the satisfaction of achieving your goals. The more sensory detail you incorporate, the more powerfully these images register in your neural pathways. With sufficient detail and emotional intensity, these mental images become so vivid that your mind literally can't distinguish them from physical reality. This isn't mystical thinking or wishful imagination. It's applied neuroscience and practical mentalism. Your brain processes vivid mental imagery through many of the same neural circuits it uses for processing physical experiences. This neurological phenomenon explains why visualization practiced with emotional intensity creates such powerful shifts in your manifestation abilities. When you combine these detailed visualizations with verbal affirmations, stated with absolute conviction, statements like, "I am prosperous," or "money flows to me abundantly," you create a comprehensive reprogramming protocol for your subconscious mind. This protocol works because your subconscious doesn't evaluate these statements critically the way your conscious mind does. It simply accepts repeated patterns as instructions for creating your reality. The revolutionary insight here is that repetition with emotional conviction is the key that unlocks the door between your conscious intentions, and your subconscious manifestation power. When you repeatedly affirm prosperity with unshakable faith, your subconscious eventually accepts these statements as fundamental truth rather than aspirational goals. Once accepted as truth, these beliefs begin operating as your new default settings, filtering all your perceptions and decisions through this lens of abundance. What happens next reveals the hidden mechanics of wealth creation. Your subconscious mind begins finding ways, sometimes seemingly invisible or coincidental ways, to manifest evidence supporting your new beliefs. You notice opportunities you previously overlooked. You connect dots between seemingly unrelated information. You feel inspired to take actions that align with your vision. These aren't random occurrences. They're the natural consequence of your subconscious aligning with your conscious intentions. This dynamic explains why so many self-made millionaires share a curious pattern in their success stories. They maintained an unshakable certainty about their prosperity long before external evidence supported their conviction. They didn't wait for their bank accounts to justify their belief in abundance. They installed that belief first, maintained it through disciplined mental practice, and watched as their financial reality gradually aligned with their internal programming. The transformation begins with a decision that may seem counterintuitive. You must choose to believe in your prosperity before you see physical evidence of it. This reversal of the conventional seeing is believing paradigm feels unnatural at first because we've been conditioned to base our beliefs on external validation. But those who master this principle understand that in the realm of creation, believing is seeing. Your sustained belief becomes the blueprint from which your physical experience is constructed. What makes this approach particularly powerful is its independence from external circumstances. You don't need anyone's permission, special connections, or perfect timing to begin this inner transformation. The only prerequisite is your willingness to engage in consistent mental training, affirming, visualizing, and feeling your prosperity with such conviction that it becomes more real to you than temporary appearances of limitation. As you practice this mental discipline, you'll notice something remarkable happening. The gap between your internal state and your external circumstances begins narrowing. This convergence isn't miraculous or supernatural. It's the natural consequence of a mind so clearly directed and emotionally aligned that it inevitably shapes your perceptions, decisions, and actions toward manifesting your vision. The journey of training your faith might feel unfamiliar at first, but it follows the same principles as any skill development: consistent practice, emotional engagement, and unwavering persistence through the initial awkward phase. If you're ready to begin this transformational practice of mental reprogramming, write in the comments, "I am training my prosperity consciousness." This commitment signals your readiness to move beyond wishing for abundance to actively cultivating the mental soil from which it grows. This cultivation of mental soil brings us to a critical distinction between those who achieve extraordinary financial success and those who remain trapped in mediocrity. The difference isn't resources, connections, or even strategies. It's how they position themselves in relation to success. While most people stand at a distance from their goals, wondering if achievement is possible, these prosperity pioneers operate from a fundamentally different stance. While others doubt, they decide. While others are paralyzed by uncertainty, they act as if success already belongs to them. This posture of certainty creates a completely different trajectory. Imagine two individuals with identical financial goals and similar starting points. The first says, "I hope this works out," approaching each step tentatively, constantly looking for evidence of failure. The second declares, "This is already mine," moving through the world with the calm assurance of someone claiming what belongs to them. These internal positions create entirely different external experiences. Faith in this context isn't passive waiting, it's active movement with unshakable certainty. It's making decisions today as if your desired financial state were already your reality. It's speaking about your goals in the present tense rather than the future. It's investing in yourself with the confidence of someone who knows the return is guaranteed. This approach transforms the energy you bring to every interaction, negotiation, and opportunity. The revelation that changes everything is this: what you imagine with faith eventually becomes your experience. Not because the universe magically rearranges itself to match your thoughts, but because your thoughts determine what you notice, how you interpret events, which opportunities you pursue, and how persistently you work towards your vision. Your mind literally creates filters through which you experience reality, and these filters either admit or block potential paths to prosperity. This understanding leads us to a question of profound importance. What are you feeding your mind? Just as your physical body reflects the food you consume, your financial reality reflects your mental diet. Do you wake up each morning feeding your mind with doubts, worries, and catastrophic scenarios? Or do you intentionally nourish it with certainty, possibility, and expectation of abundance? The difference determines whether your mind becomes a fertile garden for opportunity or a barren landscape of limitation. Your mind is quite literally the creation center of your experience. What you feed it determines whether your reality is strong or weak, expansive or constrained, abundant or scarce. This isn't metaphorical. It's a practical description of how consciousness shapes experience through perception, interpretation, and action. When you consistently feed your mind thoughts of limitation and scarcity, you're programming it to create exactly those conditions in your life. The transformation begins with a decision to radically change your mental diet. Just as you might eliminate junk food to improve your physical health, you must eliminate toxic thoughts to improve your financial health. This means becoming intensely aware of the content you're consuming, not just media and conversations, but your own internal dialogue. Are your thoughts predominantly focused on what could go wrong, what you lack, or why success might be difficult? Or are they centered on possibilities, resources, and the certainty of your vision manifesting? This mental diet shift requires vigilance and discipline. Each morning becomes an opportunity to set your mental frequency for the day. Instead of automatically scrolling through news designed to trigger fear and scarcity, you might begin with affirmations that reinforce your prosperity consciousness. Instead of rehearsing worst-case scenarios, you might visualize best-case outcomes with emotional intensity. Instead of complaining about current limitations, you might express gratitude for the abundance already present in your life. What makes this approach so powerful is that it creates a virtuous cycle. As you consistently feed your mind thoughts of abundance and certainty, you begin noticing evidence supporting those beliefs. These positive observations further strengthen your faith, which then influences your decisions and actions, creating even more evidence of prosperity. This upward spiral accelerates over time, eventually creating momentum that makes prosperity feel almost effortless, not because you're working less, but because you're aligned with the natural flow of abundance. This alignment represents a fundamental shift in how you relate to wealth creation. Rather than pushing against resistance or struggling to manifest prosperity, you're simply allowing the natural expression of abundance that occurs when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are in harmony. If you're ready to transform your mental diet and experience this alignment firsthand, write in the comments, "I choose abundance as my mental diet." This declaration isn't just words, It's a commitment to becoming conscious of what you feed the creation center of your experience. This commitment to an abundance-focused mental diet naturally brings us back to the fundamental catalyst that drives all financial creation: desire. Let's explore this concept more deeply, because it truly is the starting point of all achievement. When we examine the genesis of wealth, any wealth, we discover a fascinating pattern. Every dollar that ever reached a bank account, every asset ever acquired, every financial empire ever built, began as a spark in someone's mind. Nothing manifests in the external world until something ignites in the internal world, and that ignition source is burning desire. This principle operates with mathematical precision. The intensity of your desire directly correlates with the power of your manifestation. Lukewarm wants produce lukewarm results. Mild interest generates mild outcomes. But when desire burns with white-hot intensity, it creates an unstoppable momentum that eventually materializes in physical form. This isn't mystical. It's the natural operation of consciousness as it expresses through focused intention. What differentiates this understanding from conventional wisdom is the recognition that desire isn't just emotional fuel. It's a magnetic force that literally begins reorganizing reality around its focus. Money never appears by random chance or luck, despite how it might sometimes seem to outside observers. It manifests when a mind becomes magnetically focused on a specific financial goal with such a clarity and intensity that it begins attracting the necessary resources, connections, and opportunities to materialize that vision. This magnetic focus, this healthy obsession with a clearly defined outcome, creates a field of attraction around you. Your thoughts, conversations, and actions all begin aligning with this dominant desire, and this alignment becomes visible to others. They sense your conviction, your clarity, your unwavering commitment. This is why desire in its purest form is contagious. It inspires others to either join your vision or support it in various ways. The revelation that makes this knowledge both powerful and potentially dangerous is that desire, when cultivated with specific intention, sparks action beyond what seems reasonable or possible. It pushes you past conventional limitations, beyond comfort zones, through obstacles that would stop someone with weaker desire. This is why those who master this principle often achieve what others consider impossible. They're operating with a different level of internal combustion. Consider how differently you approach tasks that you genuinely desire versus those you merely think you should do. When authentic desire drives you, you find energy you didn't know you had. You discover creative solutions to problems that seemed insurmountable. You persist when others would quit. This transformative power of desire explains why individuals with seemingly identical external resources achieve dramatically different results. Their internal desire quotients differ dramatically. What makes desire so revolutionary is that it's available to anyone, regardless of current circumstances. You don't need special privileges, exceptional education, or lucky breaks to cultivate burning desire. You simply need to identify what genuinely ignites your passion and then fan that flame daily through visualization, affirmation, and aligned action. As your desire intensifies, your perception sharpens, allowing you to recognize opportunities invisible to those operating with conventional awareness. This principle has been demonstrated repeatedly throughout history. Behind virtually every significant financial achievement stands a mind possessed by desire so intense it became a constructive obsession. These individuals didn't wish for success or hope for it. They burned for it with every fiber of their being. Their desire wasn't an occasional visitor, but a constant companion, informing every decision and directing every action. Now consider your own relationship with desire. Have you identified what truly ignites your financial passion? Is your desire a gentle preference or a burning necessity? The difference determines whether your financial journey will be ordinary or extraordinary. When you connect with authentic desire, something that resonates with your deepest values and aspirations, you access a wellspring of creative energy that transforms obstacles into stepping stones. The most significant shift occurs when you move from wanting something to becoming someone who embodies that desire completely. Rather than occasionally thinking about financial abundance, you begin operating as someone for whom prosperity is the only acceptable outcome. This identity-level transformation changes everything about how you approach wealth creation. If you're beginning to sense how reclaiming the power of authentic desire could revolutionize your financial trajectory, write in the comments, "My desire creates my destiny." This acknowledgement is your first step toward harnessing the magnetic power of focused intention. This first step toward harnessing the magnetic power of focused intention brings us to a critical refinement that separates those who merely wish for wealth from those who actually create it. The specificity of your desire determines its manifestation power. Vague intentions like "I want to be rich" or "I want more money" lack the precision needed to direct your mental energy effectively. They're like trying to tune a radio to a fuzzy frequency. You might occasionally catch fragments of the broadcast, but never the full, clear signal. The transformation begins when you replace these vague wishes with crystal-clear declarations that engage both your logical mind and emotional core. Instead of saying, "I want to be wealthy," you might declare, "I am earning $50,000 per month, providing exceptional value through my business that solves specific problem." Or rather than hoping for financial freedom, you might specify, "I have 3 active income sources generating $15,000 monthly with complete freedom of time and mobility." This precision matters profoundly because your subconscious mind responds to specifics, not generalities. When you articulate exactly what you're creating, your reticular activating system, the filtering mechanism in your brain, begins scanning your environment for relevant opportunities, connections, and resources. It's like programming your mental GPS with exact coordinates rather than a vague direction. The journey becomes infinitely more efficient. The specificity principle applies not just to monetary amounts, but to the entire ecosystem of your desired financial reality. What value are you providing? To whom? Through what vehicle or business model? With what lifestyle impact? The more dimensions you clearly define, the more comprehensive the blueprint you provide to your subconscious creator. This precision doesn't limit possibilities. It actually expands them by creating a clearly defined channel through which your creative energy can flow. Without this channel, your mental and emotional energy disperses in countless directions, creating scattered results at best. With it, your energy consolidates into a powerful stream that can carve new paths through even the most challenging terrain. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore how this precisely defined desire transforms into an unstoppable plan, the bridge between internal vision and external reality. This transformation doesn't happen automatically. It requires a specific protocol that aligns all dimensions of your consciousness with your financial vision. The architecture of this protocol begins with writing your goal in present tense, as if it's already accomplished. This isn't semantic gymnastics. It's neuro-linguistic programming that shifts your relationship with the goal from future aspiration to current reality. When you write, "I am earning $50,000 monthly," rather than "I will earn," you're instructing your subconscious that this isn't a someday wish, but a present fact requiring alignment. Once written, this declaration becomes a twice-daily meditation. read aloud upon waking and before sleeping. These times aren't arbitrarily chosen. They're the moments when your subconscious mind is most receptive to new programming during the twilight states between consciousness and sleep. By consistently implanting these instructions during these receptive periods, you're essentially updating your mental operating system with new baseline assumptions about your financial reality. The protocol deepens through multi-sensory visualization. See yourself living this financial reality in vivid detail. Hear the conversations you're having. Feel the emotions of accomplishment and freedom. Taste and smell the environments you're experiencing. This comprehensive sensory engagement convinces your subconscious that this experience is real, not hypothetical, triggering a cascade of internal adjustments to align with this new reality. Perhaps most transformative is the practice of feeling the pleasure and satisfaction of your accomplished goal as if it's already manifested. This emotional rehearsal creates a neurological signature identical to what you'd experience upon actual achievement. Your brain and body begin operating as if the goal is accomplished, generating the confidence, creativity, and determination characteristic of someone who's already succeeded rather than someone who's striving. The final component of this protocol, acting daily as if your vision is already underway, creates external reinforcement of your internal programming. These aligned actions aren't just practical steps toward your goal. They're physical affirmations that signal to both your unconscious mind and the world around you that your transformation isn't theoretical but tangible and progressive. What emerges from this protocol isn't just a plan, but a living blueprint that continuously evolves as you align more completely with your vision. If you're sensing how this integrated approach could revolutionize not just your financial reality, but your entire relationship with manifestation, write in the comments, "My blueprint is activated." This recognition marks your transition from passive wishing to active creation through conscious intention. This activation of your blueprint reveals a profound truth about the nature of wealth creation. A desire without a plan remains just a dream, beautiful but intangible. But when that same desire is coupled with a structured plan, it transforms into something far more powerful, essentially becoming an order to the universe. This isn't mystical thinking, it's a practical recognition that the mind requires both direction and structure to manifest its visions in physical reality. Money, contrary to popular belief, doesn't respond to luck or random structure and a mind that knows precisely where it's going and why. Think of wealth as water flowing through channels. Without defined channels, water disperses, creating puddles rather than powerful streams. Similarly, financial energy requires clear pathways to flow effectively into your life. Your mental plan creates these essential channels. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that this plan exists primarily in your consciousness before it manifests externally. Most people approach planning backward. They look at current circumstances, identify limitations, and create modest goals based on those constraints. This conventional approach keeps them trapped in incremental progress at best. The revolutionary approach begins with your vision, not your circumstances, and builds a bridge between that vision and your current reality. This bridge isn't constructed from materials in the physical world. It's built from thoughts infused with emotional energy and logical structure. The architecture of effective wealth creation requires both elements working in harmony. The burning emotion of desire provides the fuel, while the concrete logic of the plan provides the vehicle. Neither is sufficient alone. Emotion without structure becomes frustration. Structure without emotion becomes an empty exercise. When these two forces unite, the passionate why with the strategic how, something extraordinary begins to happen. This is what ancient alchemists understood symbolically as the transformation of lead into gold. In modern terms, it's the process by which immaterial thought becomes material reality through focused intention and structured implementation. The blueprint for this alchemical transformation begins with absolute precision. Write down the exact amount of money you desire to create. Not a vague approximation, but a specific figure that resonates with both your practical needs and emotional aspirations. Then establish a clear time frame that feels both ambitious and achievable. This temporal boundary creates necessary tension between your current reality and desired outcome, generating the creative energy needed for manifestation. Perhaps most critically, define exactly what you will offer in exchange for this wealth. The universe operates through exchange, not through something-for-nothing arrangements. What value will you provide? What problems will you solve? What needs will you fulfill? This commitment to contribution ensures that your wealth creation serves others while serving yourself, creating sustainable abundance rather than temporary gain. Finally, identify how you'll begin today. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, but immediately, with whatever resources you currently possess. This immediate action, however small, creates momentum that begins shifting your reality. It transforms your plan from theoretical to practical, from potential to kinetic. The size of this first step matters far less than the commitment it represents to your vision. What emerges from this integrated approach is a living blueprint that speaks directly to both your conscious and subconscious mind. Your conscious mind understands the logical framework and implementable steps. Your subconscious mind responds to the emotional resonance and vivid imagery. Together, they create an internal environment where wealth creation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The transformation this process triggers goes far beyond financial circumstances. As you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions around this structured vision, you begin experiencing an internal shift that precedes external changes. You develop greater clarity, heightened awareness of opportunities, increased creative problem-solving abilities, and enhanced resilience in the face of obstacles. These internal shifts become the foundation for the external manifestation of your financial vision. This approach to wealth creation represents a fundamental departure from conventional financial thinking. Rather than reacting to circumstances, you're proactively designing them. Rather than hoping for lucky breaks, you're creating structured pathways for abundance. Rather than waiting for permission or perfect conditions, you're initiating the creative process from exactly where you stand. The journey unfolds with mathematical precision when both elements, passionate desire and structured planning, work in harmony. If you're beginning to sense how this integrated approach could revolutionize your relationship with wealth creation, write in the comments, "Structure activates my desire." This recognition marks your transition from passive hoping to active creation through the alchemy of emotion and logic, working in perfect harmony. This transition from passive hoping to active creation brings us to perhaps the most liberating revelation in this entire journey. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the ideal plan to begin. This insight challenges the perfectionism that keeps most people permanently stuck in preparation mode, endlessly researching, planning, and waiting for conditions that never quite arrive. The revolutionary truth is that you must act from exactly where you are, with precisely what you have right now. This principle operates on a profound psychological insight. The mind requires movement to activate its full creative power. Think of it like a flywheel that needs initial momentum before it can generate significant energy. Too many potential wealth creators remain trapped in endless planning because they don't understand this fundamental law of mental physics. They believe they must have perfect clarity before taking the first step, when in reality, clarity emerges through movement, not before it. Consider how this principle manifests in the journey of virtually every successful entrepreneur and wealth creator. They didn't wait until every detail was resolved or every potential obstacle anticipated. They started with what behavioral psychologists call imperfect action, steps taken without complete certainty, but with complete commitment. This approach triggers a fascinating cascade of mental and practical benefits that passive planning can never provide. When you take immediate action, even modest action, you receive immediate feedback from reality. This feedback provides data that no amount of theoretical planning could generate. You learn what works and what doesn't. You discover unforeseen obstacles and unexpected opportunities. Most importantly, you develop momentum that carries you forward when motivation inevitably fluctuates. The action itself becomes self-reinforcing, creating an upward spiral of implementation and refinement. The enigmatic texts from various wisdom traditions all converge on this same truth. Start now, even if your plan isn't perfect, and improve it along the way. This isn't reckless impulsivity, it's strategic implementation coupled with continuous adaptation. The initial plan serves as a launching pad, not a final blueprint. As you progress, the plan evolves, becoming more refined and effective with each iteration. This approach to wealth creation represents what the ancient alchemists might have called the great work, the continuous transformation of raw material, your initial imperfect ideas, into refined gold, your evolved, effective implementation. Each action, each lesson, each adjustment polishes your approach until it shines with effectiveness that couldn't have been achieved through planning alone. What's particularly fascinating about this principle is that it directly contradicts conventional wisdom about success. We're often taught that meticulous planning precedes successful action, that certainty comes before movement. But the hidden truth that they don't want you to know is that you can and must begin without having everything resolved. This revelation is powerful because it democratizes wealth creation, making it accessible to anyone willing to start from wherever they currently stand. The liberation in this understanding is immense. You no longer need perfect circumstances, complete knowledge, or ideal conditions. You don't need to wait for the economy to improve, for more education, for better connections, or for any external factor to align. You simply need to take the first step with what you have, where you are. This single decision to act now, rather than wait for perfect conditions, often represents the pivotal moment that separates those who eventually create wealth from those who perpetually prepare to create it. The implementation of this principle requires embracing what psychologists call productive discomfort, the willingness to act despite uncertainty, to move forward without guarantees. This isn't recklessness. It's the recognition that certainty is often an illusion that keeps you trapped in inaction. The most successful wealth creators understand that clarity emerges through engagement with reality, not through endless theoretical consideration. This approach creates a fascinating shift in your relationship with imperfection. Rather than seeing imperfections in your plan as reasons to delay, you begin viewing them as inevitable components of any living, evolving system. You recognize that perfection isn't the prerequisite for beginning, it's the potential outcome of continuous refinement through action. If this perspective shift is revealing new possibilities in your wealth creation journey, write in the comments, "I choose action over perfection." This declaration marks your liberation from the paralysis of planning and your entry into the dynamic reality of creation through implementation. This liberation from the paralysis of planning brings us to what might be the most powerful mechanism for creating wealth through consciousness: self-suggestion. This profound psychological principle reveals something remarkable about how your mind operates. It doesn't fundamentally distinguish between objective truth and constant repetition. When you repeat something with sufficient intensity and emotional conviction, your mind eventually accepts it as reality, regardless of whether external evidence initially supports that belief. This mechanism explains why two people with identical external circumstances can experience dramatically different financial outcomes. The person who repeatedly tells themselves, "I'm bad with money," or "financial success is always just beyond my reach," is literally programming their subconscious to manifest exactly those limitations. Their mind dutifully turns these statements into commands and then orchestrates situations that confirm these beliefs. Self-suggestion operates as the critical channel through which ideas travel from conscious thought to subconscious acceptance, eventually emerging as action, habit, and ultimately destiny. This isn't theoretical. It's the practical architecture of how consciousness shapes experience. The thoughts you repeat with emotional intensity become the invisible templates from which your financial reality is constructed. The revolutionary implication is that by taking conscious control of this process, deliberately choosing what suggestions you feed to your subconscious, you transform your mind from an obstacle into an unstoppable ally in wealth creation. Instead of allowing random or negative thoughts to program your financial future, you intentionally install beliefs that support prosperity and abundance. Consider the difference in outcomes between someone who habitually thinks, "I never have enough money," versus someone who consistently affirms, "I am a powerful creator of wealth and abundance flows to me naturally." The first person has programmed their reticular activating system to notice evidence of scarcity, making decisions from a place of lack and feeling perpetually behind. Financially, the second person has instructed their mind to recognize opportunities, make abundance-oriented decisions, and experience gratitude for the prosperity already present in their life. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore the mechanics of how self-suggestion actually reprograms your subconscious mind. Your subconscious doesn't evaluate statements critically or logically. It simply accepts what's repeatedly presented with emotional conviction. This is why casual, positive thinking often fails to create significant change. Saying, "I am wealthy" once or twice without emotion creates minimal impact. But declaring, "I am a natural creator of abundance" daily with absolute conviction and emotional intensity gradually reconfigures your entire relationship with money. The transformation begins subtly, but builds momentum over time. You might notice yourself making slightly different financial decisions, feeling more confident during money conversations, or recognizing opportunities you previously overlooked. These small shifts compound, eventually creating substantial changes in your external circumstances. What makes self-suggestion particularly powerful is that it works regardless of your starting point. You don't need to already have wealth to begin programming yourself for abundance. In fact, the greatest financial transformations often begin from positions of limitation, precisely because the contrast creates the emotional fuel needed for committed reprogramming. The key to effective self-suggestion lies in its delivery. Statements must be present tense, even if they contradict current circumstances, specific rather than general, and infused with genuine emotion. "I now earn $10,000 monthly through my expertise in specific field" carries far more programming power than "someday I'll make more money." The first creates a clear template for manifestation. The second merely extends current limitations into the future. Timing also significantly impacts the effectiveness of self-suggestion. Your subconscious is most receptive during the transitional states between wakefulness and sleep. The moments just after waking and right before falling asleep represent optimal windows for installation of new financial programming. During these periods, the critical faculty of your conscious mind is relaxed, allowing suggestions to penetrate more deeply into your subconscious. The most profound shift occurs when you recognize that your current financial reality isn't an objective fact, but the manifestation of previous programming, much of it installed without your conscious awareness or consent. This revelation is simultaneously humbling and empowering. It means your past financial struggles weren't personal failings, but the natural outcome of unconscious programming. More importantly, it means your financial future remains entirely open to transformation through deliberate reprogramming. This journey of conscious self-suggestion represents nothing less than reclaiming sovereignty over your financial destiny. Instead of passively accepting limiting beliefs installed by others or past experiences, you actively choose the templates from which your prosperity will emerge. If you're ready to transform your relationship with wealth through the power of conscious self-suggestion, write in the comments, "I am reprogramming my financial blueprint." This declaration signals your commitment to taking control of the invisible forces that shape your financial reality. This commitment to reprogramming your financial blueprint brings us to the mechanics of how self-suggestion actually transforms your relationship with wealth. Looking deeper at this powerful process, we discover that self-suggestion isn't just positive thinking, it's a sophisticated system of natural neuroprogramming that follows specific principles. Your mind operates through established neural pathways, and self-suggestion is the methodical process of creating new financial pathways while allowing old, limiting ones to gradually weaken through disuse. What makes self-suggestion so transformative is how precisely your mind responds to the three critical elements of delivery: language, tone, and emotion. The language you use must be specific and present tense, creating a clear template for manifestation. The tone must convey absolute certainty rather than wishful thinking. And perhaps most crucially, the emotion must be genuine. Your subconscious recognizes and responds to the authentic feeling behind your words, not just the words themselves. This explains why casual affirmations often fail to create significant change. Simply reciting positive statements without emotional engagement is like trying to start a car without fuel. The mechanism exists, but the energy required for ignition is missing. True transformation requires that you feel the reality of your affirmations even before external evidence supports them. This emotional conviction becomes the bridge between current circumstances and desired outcomes. The implementation of effective self-suggestion follows a rhythm that works with your mind's natural receptivity cycles. Begin each morning by writing your financial affirmations with focused intention, engaging both visual and kinesthetic processing centers in your brain. Throughout the day, repeat these affirmations aloud whenever possible, allowing the auditory dimension to reinforce the programming. Before sleep, when your subconscious is most receptive, revisit these statements with particular emotional intensity, creating a continuous loop of reinforcement. What amplifies the power of this practice is combining verbal affirmation with vivid visualization. As you declare your financial truth, simultaneously create a detailed mental movie of experiencing this reality. See yourself making confident financial decisions, receiving abundant income, enjoying the lifestyle this prosperity enables. Feel the emotions these experiences generate, the satisfaction, freedom, security, and joy. This multi-sensory engagement dramatically accelerates the reprogramming process. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that you've already been using self-suggestion your entire life, just not consciously or deliberately. Think about how many times you've unknowingly repeated phrases like, "Money is always tight," or "I can never seem to get ahead financially." These statements weren't random thoughts. They were powerful programming instructions that your subconscious faithfully executed, creating exactly the limitations they described. This unconscious negative programming didn't happen overnight. It accumulated through years of repetition, often beginning with messages you absorbed from family, education, media, and culture. The good news is that the same mechanism that installed these limitations can be used to transcend them. The neural pathways of lack and limitation weren't created in a day, and neither will your new pathways of abundance, but with consistent practice, your financial reality will inevitably shift to reflect your new programming. What makes this journey particularly fascinating is witnessing the gradual transformation of your financial intuition. As your self-suggestion practice deepens, you'll notice subtle shifts in how you perceive opportunities, make decisions, and relate to money generally. What once felt like forced positive thinking eventually becomes your default perspective, not because you're ignoring reality, but because you've literally rewired the neural networks through which you experience financial reality. This transformational process represents nothing less than reclaiming authorship of your financial story. Instead of unconsciously repeating narratives installed by others, you consciously create the internal script from which your prosperity emerges. If you're beginning to recognize how this deliberate reprogramming could revolutionize your financial trajectory, write in the comments, "I am the author of my financial story." This declaration marks your transition from unconscious programming to conscious creation through the powerful technology of self-suggestion. This transition from conscious creation to authorship of your financial story brings us to what might be the most powerful force in wealth manifestation: faith. Not religious faith, but a particular mental state that transforms possibilities into probabilities and eventually certainties. Have you ever considered what would happen if you had absolutely no doubt that your financial vision would materialize? If within you burned a certainty so powerful, so unshakable, that nothing, not circumstances, opinions, or temporary setbacks, could possibly topple it. This isn't theoretical faith or abstract belief. It's mental, practical, active faith that literally moves mountains because it first moves decisions. When you operate from this state of absolute certainty, everything changes. You make different choices. You see different opportunities. You respond to challenges differently. This isn't wishful thinking. It's a profound shift in your relationship with reality itself. The ancient manuscript that contains these wealth principles makes something remarkably clear. Faith is an emotional vibration state so intense, so concentrated, that it penetrates directly into the subconscious mind, bypassing the critical faculty that normally filters and questions new information. This direct access to your subconscious reprogramming center explains why faith creates such dramatic transformations in people's financial realities. What's revolutionary about this understanding is recognizing that faith isn't dependent on external evidence. It's born from internal decision. You don't need proof that your financial vision is possible before believing in it. You choose what to believe, and that choice itself becomes the catalyst for manifestation. This reverses the conventional seeing is believing paradigm that keeps most people trapped in their current circumstances. This insight shatters perhaps the most limiting belief about faith: that it's something you either naturally have or don't have. The truth is that faith is cultivated through deliberate practice, like developing any other skill or capacity. You literally train your mind to maintain unwavering certainty, despite temporary appearances to the contrary. This training doesn't deny reality, it transcends the limitation of accepting current conditions as permanent reality. Think about how differently you would approach your financial journey if you knew, not hoped, not wished, but knew with bone-deep certainty that your success was inevitable. How would your posture change, your decisions, your persistence through challenges? This shift in certainty creates a completely different trajectory because it changes the energy you bring to every aspect of wealth creation. The fascinating aspect of faith as a manifestation force is that it operates on both psychological and quantum levels simultaneously. Psychologically, it eliminates the hesitation, doubt, and second-guessing that typically derail financial progress. Energetically, it creates a coherent field that allows for clearer transmission of your intentions into physical reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore how this faith becomes the invisible bridge between your current financial reality and your desired state. This bridge isn't built from external materials, but from the substance of unwavering belief. What's particularly fascinating is how faith accelerates the manifestation process by collapsing the time between conception and realization. When you truly believe in the inevitability of your financial vision, you naturally take more direct, decisive actions toward it, eliminating the wavering and second-guessing that typically extend the manifestation timeline. This faith state doesn't require you to deny current circumstances. It simply requires you to see them as temporary conditions rather than permanent limitations. You acknowledge where you are while simultaneously holding an unshakable vision of where you're going. This dual awareness, present reality and future certainty, creates the creative tension from which transformation emerges. The decision to cultivate unwavering faith in your financial vision represents perhaps the most pivotal moment in your wealth creation journey. It's the moment you shift from being a passive recipient of circumstances to an active creator of your financial reality. If this perspective shift is awakening something within you, write in the comments, "My faith creates my reality." This declaration marks your commitment to cultivating the invisible force that transforms financial possibilities into inevitabilities. This commitment to cultivating faith as your reality-creating force reveals another dimension of its transformative power. Faith functions as the sustainable energy source for persistence. When we examine the architecture of achievement, we discover something fascinating about the relationship between faith and results. Faith doesn't directly create outcomes, it creates the persistence that eventually manifests those outcomes. This persistence becomes the bridge between intention and manifestation. This dynamic explains one of the most common patterns in wealth creation journeys. Most people fail not from lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but from lack of faith. They abandon their financial visions precisely when persistence is most critical, often just before the breakthrough would have occurred. They plant the seed but lose faith before it blossoms, walking away before witnessing the miracle of manifestation. Think about this pattern in terms of natural cycles. Every seed planted undergoes a period where nothing appears to be happening. Below the surface, critical development is occurring, but to the untrained eye, it seems like nothing is working. Those without faith interpret this period of invisible growth as failure and abandon their efforts. Those with unshakable faith continue nurturing their vision, understanding that manifestation follows natural development sequences that aren't always immediately visible. This persistence powered by faith explains why certain individuals succeed where others with similar or even superior talents fail. The faith-fueled mind develops a particular relationship with obstacles, seeing them not as evidence of failure, but as necessary resistance that strengthens the manifestation muscle. Each challenge becomes not a reason to quit, but an opportunity to deepen conviction and refine approach. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that faith is the invisible bridge across what many call the valley of disappointment, that critical period between initial action and visible results where most abandonment occurs. Those who navigate this valley successfully aren't necessarily more talented or privileged. They simply possess the unwavering faith that sustains persistence when external evidence hasn't yet caught up with internal certainty. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore how this faith-powered persistence connects with another crucial element of wealth creation: specialized knowledge. While faith provides the energy for manifestation, specialized knowledge provides the vehicle through which that energy expresses. This relationship explains why many highly educated individuals struggle financially, while others with specific expertise create extraordinary wealth. The ancient manuscript containing these wealth principles reveals something revolutionary about the relationship between knowledge and prosperity. Knowledge by itself won't attract money unless it's organized and intelligently directed towards specific outcomes. The universe of wealth doesn't respond to general knowledge, regardless of how extensive. It responds only to specialized knowledge applied with defined purpose. This distinction explains why academic achievement doesn't automatically translate to financial abundance. The PhD with broad theoretical knowledge but no specialized application often struggles financially, while someone with focused expertise in solving specific problems creates extraordinary prosperity. The difference isn't intelligence or education. It's the organization and application of knowledge toward defined financial outcomes. What makes specialized knowledge so powerful is its direct relationship with value creation. The marketplace rewards solutions, not information. When you develop specialized knowledge that addresses specific problems people are willing to pay to solve, you create a direct channel for wealth to flow through. This knowledge becomes your unique contribution, the specific value you bring that others can't easily duplicate. The revolutionary insight here is that specialized knowledge isn't necessarily complex or difficult to acquire. It's simply knowledge organized around solving specific problems that have financial value. This explains why certain individuals with modest formal education create significant wealth. They've developed specialized knowledge perfectly aligned with marketplace needs. This relationship between faith and specialized knowledge creates a powerful synergy. In wealth manifestation, faith provides the energy and persistence to develop and apply your specialized knowledge, while that knowledge provides the practical vehicle through which your faith expresses in the marketplace. If you're beginning to see how these elements work together to create a complete wealth manifestation system, write in the comments, "Faith fuels my specialized value." This recognition marks your understanding of how invisible forces and practical application combine to create financial transformation. This understanding of how faith and specialized knowledge work together reveals perhaps the most liberating insight in this entire wealth creation journey. You don't need to know everything. You just need to master one powerful idea and convert it into productive action. The forbidden manuscript makes this principle abundantly clear, challenging the conventional belief that successful wealth creators possess encyclopedic knowledge across multiple domains. When we examine the lives of great millionaires and billionaires, we discover something fascinating about their relationship with knowledge. They aren't necessarily the wisest people in everything. They're experts in one specific field who understand how to leverage that specialized knowledge to generate extraordinary value. Steve Jobs wasn't a master programmer. He had specialized knowledge about design and user experience. Warren Buffett doesn't understand the technical details of every company he invests in. He has specialized knowledge about identifying undervalued businesses with strong fundamentals. This revelation transforms your relationship with knowledge acquisition. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by how much you don't know, you can focus intensely on developing depth in one area that naturally aligns with your talents and interests. This concentrated focus creates a level of expertise that the market values far more highly than broad, shallow knowledge across multiple domains. The identification of your specific domain for specialization represents a pivotal moment in your wealth creation journey. What do you know how to do or could learn to do with dedicated focus that solves a real problem for others? This question isn't just about skills, it's about discovering your personal goldmine, your unique gateway to wealth that aligns with your natural abilities. Perhaps you're naturally gifted at explaining complex concepts in simple terms. This could become specialized knowledge in teaching or communication. Maybe you have an intuitive understanding of what makes people feel heard and valued. This could become specialized knowledge in coaching, counseling, or leadership. Or perhaps you have a talent for recognizing patterns in data that others miss. This could become specialized knowledge in analysis, investment, or strategy. What makes this approach so powerful is that it typically begins with something that already comes naturally to you, an innate talent or interest that, when developed with deliberate focus, transforms into specialized knowledge with significant market value. This natural alignment creates sustainability in your wealth creation journey because you're building from authentic strength rather than forcing yourself into domains that don't match your natural abilities. The market consistently rewards depth over breadth when it comes to value creation. Someone who is exceptional in one specific area can command premium compensation, while someone who is merely competent across many areas often struggles to create significant financial value. This principle explains why certain individuals with focused expertise in seemingly narrow fields, from specialty baking to drone photography to relationship coaching for specific demographics, often create extraordinary wealth, while generalists with broader knowledge remain financially limited. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore how to identify and develop your specific domain of specialized knowledge. This journey begins with honest self-reflection about what activities consistently put you in a state of flow, where you lose track of time, feel energized rather than drained, and consistently produce results that others value. These flow states often point toward your natural domains for specialized knowledge development. The intersection of three elements creates your optimal specialization zone: what you're naturally good at, what you genuinely enjoy doing, and what solves problems others will pay to have solved. When these three elements align, you've discovered not just a potential income source, but a sustainable wealth creation vehicle that can grow exponentially as you continue developing your specialized knowledge. What's particularly fascinating about specialized knowledge is that it often begins as intuitive understanding, things you do naturally without conscious awareness of the underlying principles. The transformation from intuitive talent to specialized knowledge occurs when you begin consciously understanding, articulating, and systematizing that intuitive ability. This evolution allows you to not only apply your specialized knowledge, but also teach, scale, and leverage it in ways that create exponential rather than linear value. If you're beginning to recognize potential domains of specialized knowledge within your natural abilities and interests, write in the comments, "I've found my specialization zone." This recognition marks a critical shift from scattered focus to concentrated development of your unique value proposition in the marketplace of wealth creation. This recognition of your specialization zone brings us to what might be the most magical dimension of wealth creation: organized imagination. This powerful capacity serves as the inner workshop where all future wealth is molded before it ever takes physical form. When we look at the material world around us, the phone in your hand, the building you live in, even the money you use, everything began as a single idea in someone's mind, but not just any random thought. Each manifestation began as a clear, organized idea directed toward a specific purpose. This recognition transforms how we understand the creation process. Physical reality doesn't randomly organize itself into innovations, businesses, or wealth. It requires the organizing principle of imagination, first establishing the template from which material form emerges. Your imagination isn't just a place for daydreaming or fantasy. It's literally the conception point for everything you'll eventually experience in your financial reality. What distinguishes productive imagination from mere fantasy is organization and direction. Organized imagination functions as a mental workshop where disorganized, scattered ideas transform into precise strategies and executable plans. It's the bridge that converts invisible potential into tangible results. The quality of this organizational process directly determines the quality of your financial manifestations. Think about the difference between someone who occasionally imagines being wealthy in vague, undefined terms versus someone who uses their imagination to design specific business models, visualize detailed implementation plans, and mentally rehearse precise strategies for creating value. The first person is engaging in wishful thinking. The second is using organized imagination as a practical wealth creation. Technology. What makes organized imagination particularly powerful is how it engages multiple dimensions of consciousness simultaneously. It combines logical, sequential thinking with intuitive, non-linear insights. It integrates analytical planning with creative innovation. This multi-dimensional engagement allows for solutions and opportunities that neither logic nor creativity alone could generate. The ancient wealth manuscript makes a crucial distinction. It's not enough to merely imagine. You must imagine with intention and defined purpose. This directed imagination differs fundamentally from passive daydreaming. It actively engages with practical realities while transcending apparent limitations. It acknowledges current circumstances while simultaneously creating pathways beyond them. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore how you can practically develop this organized imagination capacity. The process begins with creating dedicated mental space, time, specifically allocated for this inner creative work. Most people never develop powerful imagination because they fill every moment with consumption rather than creation, absorbing others' ideas rather than generating their own. The practice of organized imagination follows a specific sequence that maximizes its manifestation power. Begin by clearly defining the financial outcome you're creating. Then, allow your mind to explore multiple pathways toward that outcome without immediately judging or dismissing any possibilities. From these various pathways, begin organizing the most promising approaches into structured plans with specific action steps. What's particularly fascinating about this process is how it activates both conscious and subconscious dimensions of creativity. During your dedicated imagination sessions, you're consciously directing the process. But even after these sessions conclude, your subconscious continues organizing, refining, and developing these ideas, often presenting breakthrough insights when you least expect them. This explains why so many wealth creators report receiving their most valuable ideas during seemingly unrelated activities, while showering, exercising, or just before falling asleep. Their organized imagination continues working even when their conscious attention is elsewhere. By regularly engaging in structured imagination practice, you're essentially programming your subconscious to constantly search for wealth-creating opportunities and solutions. The development of organized imagination represents perhaps the most significant investment you can make in your wealth-creating capacity. While others focus exclusively on external strategies and techniques, you're developing the fundamental creative faculty from which all external results ultimately emerge. If you're beginning to recognize how cultivating this inner workshop could transform your financial reality, write in the comments, "My imagination creates my wealth." This acknowledgement marks your recognition of imagination not as fantasy, but as the essential first stage of all material creation. This recognition of imagination as the essential first stage of creation brings us to what might be the most profound revelation in the entire wealth manifestation journey. The true power center of your financial reality isn't your conscious mind, it's your subconscious. The conscious mind, with all its planning, analyzing, and decision-making, represents just the visible tip of an immense iceberg. The real force driving your life and financial circumstances resides beneath the surface in the vast ocean of your subconscious. This hidden dimension of mind functions as an immense storage system, housing all your beliefs, programs, and patterns that operate automatically, often without your awareness. Think of your subconscious as the operating system running in the background of your financial life, executing programs you may have installed decades ago, without realizing their continued influence on your present circumstances. This revelation explains one of the most perplexing patterns in wealth creation. Why so many intelligent, educated people who consciously know what to do for financial success consistently fail to implement that knowledge effectively. They understand the strategies, they've read the books, they've taken the courses, yet their financial reality remains unchanged. The disconnect occurs because their conscious knowledge conflicts with their subconscious programming. Imagine trying to drive a car with one foot on the accelerator and the other firmly pressing the brake. This internal contradiction perfectly illustrates the relationship between conscious intentions and subconscious beliefs for most people. Consciously, they're attempting to accelerate toward wealth. Subconsciously, they're simultaneously applying the brakes through limiting beliefs about money, success, and their own worthiness. The transformational insight is that to create unlimited wealth, you must first identify and reprogram these subconscious limitations. No amount of conscious effort can overcome deeply embedded subconscious resistance. This explains why willpower alone rarely creates lasting financial change. You're trying to overcome programming running at a deeper level than conscious choice. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore the specific architecture of this reprogramming process. Your subconscious doesn't respond to logical arguments or intellectual understanding. It responds to repetition, emotion, and vivid imagery. This is why traditional education about wealth often fails to create transformation. It addresses only the conscious dimension while leaving the subconscious programming intact. Effective reprogramming begins with becoming aware of your current financial blueprint, the set of beliefs, associations, and patterns regarding money that currently operate in your subconscious. These often originate from childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, and significant emotional events related to finances. Common limiting programs include beliefs like money is scarce, wealth requires struggle, rich people are unethical, or I don't deserve abundance. Once identified, these subconscious limitations can be systematically replaced through specific reprogramming techniques. Visualization practiced during relaxed states creates new neural pathways associated with wealth. Affirmations repeated with emotional intensity gradually override previous limiting beliefs, and perhaps most powerfully, emotionally charged new experiences create direct evidence that challenges and ultimately replaces old programming. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it addresses the root cause of financial limitation rather than just treating symptoms. Most financial advice focuses exclusively on external strategies, budgeting techniques, investment approaches, business models, while ignoring the internal programming that ultimately determines how effectively you'll implement those strategies. The subconscious reprogramming approach reverses this priority, recognizing that when your internal blueprint aligns with prosperity, the external strategies naturally flow with greater ease and effectiveness. This alignment creates a state where your conscious and subconscious are working in harmony rather than opposition, both feet pressing the accelerator with nothing engaging the brakes. This internal alignment explains why certain individuals seem to manifest financial opportunities effortlessly, while others struggle despite working harder. The aligned mind naturally recognizes opportunities, invisible to those with conflicting programming. It makes decisions with clarity rather than contradiction. It takes actions with full commitment rather than subconscious sabotage. If you're beginning to recognize how your subconscious programming might be creating invisible barriers to your financial abundance, write in the comments, "I'm reprogramming my wealth blueprint." This acknowledgement marks your first step toward bringing the hidden creator of your financial reality, your subconscious mind, into alignment with your conscious desire for prosperity. This first step toward reprogramming your wealth blueprint reveals the fundamental principle that governs all financial manifestation, the law of attraction. This isn't some New Age fantasy or mystical belief system. It's a universal law, as real and tangible as gravity. The forbidden manuscript reveals what scientists, philosophers, and wealth creators have understood for centuries. Everything the universe can possibly give you must first be attracted by the force of your mind. This principle operates with mathematical precision. What you consistently focus your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy on inevitably manifests in your physical reality. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the practical mechanics of how consciousness interfaces with the material world. Your mind functions as a powerful broadcasting station, continuously sending signals that determine which possibilities from the infinite field of potential will materialize in your experience. The revolutionary aspect of this understanding is recognizing that this attraction process operates constantly, not occasionally. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you cultivate, every belief you hold contributes to this ongoing manifestation process. Most people create their financial reality unconsciously and then wonder why they experience limitations. They're using the law of attraction by default rather than by design. When you understand this principle deeply, you recognize that your financial circumstances aren't random or determined primarily by external factors. They represent the perfect physical manifestation of your dominant thought patterns and emotional states regarding wealth. If your mind frequently focuses on scarcity, struggle, or financial worry, those very conditions will continue manifesting in your experience, not as punishment, but as the natural consequence of your mental broadcasting. The transformation begins when you shift from unconscious attraction to conscious creation. Instead of allowing your thoughts to wander randomly between worry and occasional hope, you deliberately direct your mental and emotional energy toward your desired financial state. You become the intentional architect of your prosperity rather than the passive recipient of circumstances. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore how this principle translates into practical application through conscious thought control. While the subconscious mind stores your financial programming and executes it automatically, your conscious mind serves as the gatekeeper, determining what new programming gets installed. The ancient manuscript makes this relationship crystal clear. Wealth begins when you take conscious control of your thoughts and decisions. This conscious control represents your most powerful tool for influencing the subconscious and creating your desired financial reality. Every thought you consciously choose becomes a potential instruction to your subconscious. Every visualization you practice becomes a blueprint for manifestation. Every emotion you cultivate becomes the magnetic energy that attracts corresponding circumstances. The architecture of wealth creation follows a precise sequence. Conscious choice leads to subconscious programming, which creates automatic behaviors, which produce consistent results. This sequence explains why momentary positive thinking rarely creates lasting financial change. Transformation requires sustained conscious direction that eventually reprograms the subconscious operating system. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it places the power squarely in your hands, regardless of current circumstances. You don't need anyone's permission or approval to take control of your conscious thoughts. You don't need perfect conditions or special resources to begin directing your mental energy with purpose. This internal power remains accessible even when external factors seem limiting or challenging. The practice begins with vigilant awareness of your current thought patterns about wealth. Most people are shocked to discover how frequently their minds automatically drift toward financial worry, limitation, or scarcity. This unconscious negative focus explains why their financial reality remains unchanged despite occasional positive intentions or affirmations. The transformation accelerates when you establish conscious gatekeeper protocols, deliberate practices that redirect your thoughts whenever they drift toward limitation. Instead of allowing financial worry to spiral, you immediately pivot toward solution-focused thinking. Instead of dwelling on current constraints, you direct your attention toward the opportunities within your reach. This consistent mental redirection gradually reprograms your subconscious, creating a new default setting oriented toward abundance rather than scarcity. If you're beginning to recognize the revolutionary potential of taking conscious control of your financial thought patterns, write in the comments, "I am the gatekeeper of my wealth consciousness." This declaration marks your commitment to directing your mental energy with purpose rather than allowing it to wander unconsciously toward limitation. This journey of understanding how your mind creates wealth isn't just theoretical. It's a practical pathway to transformation that begins with the choices you make right now. As we've explored these ancient principles together, you've likely felt moments of recognition, those instants where something deep within you whispered, "This is truth." That recognition is your consciousness awakening to its own creative power. The principles we've discussed, from burning desire and unwavering faith to specialized knowledge and conscious thought control, form a complete system for financial transformation that has stood the test of time. And now, this knowledge belongs to you. What makes this understanding so powerful is that you can begin implementing it immediately, regardless of your current circumstances. Your mind's creative capacity doesn't require external permission or perfect conditions. It only requires your decision to use it deliberately rather than by default. I've shared these insights because I believe everyone deserves to discover the financial freedom that comes from aligning your conscious and subconscious mind toward prosperity. If this message has resonated with you, if you feel called to this path of conscious wealth creation, I'd love to continue this journey together. Subscribe to join our community of conscious wealth creators, people who understand that prosperity begins in the mind before it manifests in the world. Each week, we explore another dimension of this transformative knowledge, turning ancient wisdom into practical application for modern life. If this message found you at exactly the right moment, drop a comment saying, "My mind creates my wealth," so I know you're part of this awakening. And if you found value in these insights, a simple like helps others discover this knowledge too. The principles we've explored today are just the beginning. There's a video right here that takes these concepts even deeper, showing you how to apply them specifically to breaking through your current financial ceiling. Click and continue with me there as we transform these principles into your daily practice for creating unlimited abundance. Remember, what separates those who merely wish for prosperity from those who create it is the conscious application of these timeless principles. Your journey of transformation has already begun.